evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Brian Hummel. I am the Arizona Director of Government Relations for the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. I'm here tonight to ask you to support the amendments to the ordinance, and regardless of if they were a cessation device or if they were a harm reduction product, that does not talk to their the aerosol emission from these devices. During the discussions that we've had, we've distributed to staff, and hopefully you've seen, there's a pretty extensive document from the Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights that talks about the secondhand effects of e-cigarette aerosol. It's pretty comprehensive, probably one of the more comprehensive documents regarding e-cigarettes. E-cigarettes are currently an unregulated product that need dramatically more study and investigation as to their effects on the users and bystanders. But again, we think we're taking the right step in moving this ordinance forward, and we strongly encourage you to approve it. Thank you very much.
Mayor Mitchell, Council, my name is Nicole Olmstead, and I'm the Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. I'm here to express the American Heart Association's strong support for the draft Clean Indoor Air Ordinance to add e-cigarettes to the Clean Indoor Air Ordinance for the following reasons. The first one is that the vapors from e-cigarettes contain known toxins. But however, they have not been subjected to thorough independent testing. So they're not exhaling just water vapor. They're made up of ingredients such as nicotine, aluminum, nickel, and other carcinogens. Currently, there are no restrictions on what can be put in them, and the health effects of e-cigarettes, especially the longer-term effects, are scientifically uncertain. E-cigarette use has the potential to create new tobacco users and reverse efforts that we've made to make smoking socially unacceptable, and that's especially attractive to the younger kids and children. Our third reason for supporting this ordinance is because these products pose a potential threat to enforcement. Allowing the use of electronic smoking devices in public places where smoking is otherwise prohibited can create confusion with enforcement issues. Many of the products look similar to cigarettes, traditional tobacco products.
I'd like to take this opportunity to address the proverbial elephant in the room here. That's perception. The perception of some Tempe residents that declare that they do not want these shops in their neighborhood and that they want this product to be eliminated. The perception of those same citizens regarding the business owners saying that they are nothing more than peddlers of a product meant for no other reason than to attract their children to the dangers of smoking by creating enticing flavors of their product. The perceptions of citizens that passive inhalation of vapor that they themselves will be harmed by if they're near a vapor. Mayor Mitchell, ladies and gentlemen of the council, as you've seen in the science presented to you, all of these claims are not only false, but misinformed bias. We ask that you shelve this vote until the FDA can make recommendations to Congress about classification and regulation of this product.
At least 1,372 college or university campuses in the U.S. have adopted 100% smoke-free campus policies that eliminate smoking in indoor and outdoor areas across the entire campus, including residences. Of these, 938 are 100% tobacco-free, and 176 prohibit the use of e-cigarettes anywhere on campus. Nearby college campuses that include e-cigarettes in their smoking control policy include Maricopa County Community College's all 12 campuses, U of A in Tucson, Arizona, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical School in Prescott, Arizona. Also, the FAA has banned e-cigarettes on all national flights.
The American Council on Science and Health concluded all the way back in 2006 that e-cigs are at least 98% safer than smoking and are not a gateway to smoking cigarettes. In fact, in countries like Sweden, who have some of the lowest smoking rates of all the world, e-cigarettes are praised as one of the largest contributors to these lower smoking rates. Right here in the United States, there's been a significant reduction in smoking, as evidenced by the reduction in income for big tobacco, and this has happened ever since the advent of the electronic cigarette. Just yesterday, a new study that was funded by the U.S. National Institute of Health was published in the journal Addiction. This study also reviewed 81 prior studies on the use and safety of e-cigs and concluded that strict regulations are not warranted and that, on the contrary, these products can cut occurrences of tobacco-related death and illness. Now let's take this conversation to the local level, right here in Tempe. A new study by a finance advisory firm ranked Tempe in the bottom of the cities recovering from the economic recession. This report states that whenever a city is left behind in recovery, collateral effects are bound to afflict already struggling economies, with a possible ripple effect that includes higher crime, lower property values, and businesses just shutting down. When that happens, skilled workers are forced to seek places in other cities to go work. The potential loss in revenue over this proposed ban will only further slow the recovery of this fine city. Businesses all over the city will suffer the loss of hundreds and maybe even thousands of customers that will be encouraged to take their business elsewhere, to a neighboring city without such regulations. The overall implications of this proposed ban are much larger than I think the city council or a lot of the public realize. Are you sure that this piece of legislation is the proper move for our city at this time? I believe that this will create much more harm than good.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mayor, members of council. My name is Matt Morales. I'm the Executive Director of the National Association of Vaping Businesses. So I'll make my 3 points this evening before I sit. 1, this debate is plagued with misinformation and misunderstanding of the actual issue. It's over and over again we hear these same arguments that we're going after children, but every shop that's out there has a strict policy of 18 and over that aligns with the nicotine standards already in the state. We've been told over and over again that because the creativity of our developers to use different flavors and different avenues for marketing, but none of which go towards children. Number 2, your draft itself notes that the U.S. Food and Drug Administration has made motions towards the advent of regulating. Comments do not close on that motion until the 8th of August, and so there is a bit of irregularity in the draft itself. 3, the data is there. Our stance comes from a place of data science study and research that comes out day by day by day. This morning alone, 2 more new studies showed that clean air studies done within different environments, small and large, are unaffected. So our stance is that we strongly oppose this draft because the information is not there.
I'm not here to talk about the health benefits or detriments, nor stories about vaping success. I'm here to tell you that if this passes, Tempe will lose money. People will spend less time at bars and restaurants. They'll spend less money at bars and restaurants if vaping is banned. And users of electronic cigarettes will flock to cities without vaping bans, such as Glendale, Scottsdale, and Phoenix.
My name is Joel Sieberts. I'm actually the founder of the Vapor Dynasty Expo. It's a vaping expo and trade show that I'm bringing to the Phoenix Convention Center at the end of October 2014. Vaping has been approved to be inside the Phoenix Convention Center. Originally, it was somewhat of a task to get in because it was so closely classified to smoking, although going through fire marshal and other approval, we were approved to have vaping inside of the Phoenix Convention Center for the date of October 23rd through the 26th. Being said, I have also many other testimonials of people that have been around people using traditional tobacco products that cannot stand around them for less than 1 minute without feeling nauseous to themselves. Personally, those same people have also told me that when I am vaping or anybody else is using electronic cigarette products around them, actually a smile comes upon their face and they ask, where did you get that? How I would be interested in something like that. Not to mention, me myself, being an electronic cigarette user, I cannot personally be around somebody smoking cigarettes. I get sick to my stomach, I can't deal with the smell, and it's just not pleasurable to be around them, and I'm sure many of you can account for that as well. On the other end of the story, I can be around a room of 100 people using electronic cigarettes, and I have no effects. It does not affect me in any such way. I do not feel nauseous, I do not feel sick to my stomach, and that is my personal testimony.
When we came here in 1970, I had a lot in common with harm reduction. At Sun Devil Stadium, This was a fan. When the smoke was getting too heavy, people got these kind of fans, and they tried to fan the smoke away. And in the restaurants, some of the early people got these fans, and they would fan the smoke away, and then they were arguing, let's reduce the harm, let's give them 3 tables in the restaurant in the corner where we can have freedom from smoke. So they put 3 tables, the big room open, smoke in the rest of it, and 3 tables for non-smoking. So we've come a long way. And so I share the battles that these people are going through, and I thank you along with thanking everybody else here. We've made some progress. And I'd like to work with these folks there. I like to work with everybody. I don't think we should throw stones. And so I think there is a place where you can do harm reduction. Go to the places that are full of smoke. That's where you can do harm reduction. Don't come in here with your e-cigarettes and think you're doing harm reduction where there's no pollution. And don't go to the non-smoking sections where there's no pollution and think you're doing harm reduction by bringing new pollution in. So you go, there is a place, and I think we can work together. And in fact, as a doctor, I've had many veterans come back from Vietnam saying they were using heroin, cocaine, and smoking. And when they got back, they were able to quit the heroin and quit the cocaine, but they couldn't quit the nicotine addiction. So nicotine addiction is not just another addiction. And I heard the same things back in 1957 that we're hearing now about regular cigarettes. They said there's no proof that regular cigarettes, even though we were in rooms we couldn't even see the other side of the room for all the smoke, there's no proof that anybody was ever harmed by smoking. You get a little cough, maybe a little phlegm, but nobody ever died from smoking. And then there's a lot of studies. Well, they said we got all kinds of Oak Ridge, Tennessee. They even did some out in California where they say there is no proof. Maybe it does harm the person who smokes, but it's certainly no harm to anybody else. But you should be a courteous smoker. When you smoke and you're next to someone, you turn to the other side as you exhale, so that if they're standing next to you, you don't exhale secondhand smoke on them right next to you. You turn the other way. And even the preventive medicine specialists early in their career, they'd have a table like this, and the smokers sat on one side of the table, and the non-smokers on the other, so they protect the people from the smell. Even the preventive medicine doctors, and I'm embarrassed to say, doctors were just like everybody else. If they were addicted, they couldn't face the truth. They wanted to deny your email and your website. You say, if you really want to quit, you folks have said, see your doctor. I'll be happy to see you anytime. And the doctors in St. Luke's Behavioral Health Center. Dr. Fairbanks. St. Luke's.
Mayor Mitchell, Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Natalie Higgins, and I am a Phoenix resident, and I have a vapor shop in Tempe. Now, I have this long-winded speech prepared that will probably take up the entire 5 minutes. But, you know, I mean, you've already been presented with all the scientific evidence that you need. And so I won't take up any more of your time on that. What I will say is that as a female business owner, an independent voter, and someone who is exceptionally politically active, I feel that this proposed legislation is a knee-jerk reaction to everything that has been presented, and it's unfounded. It's truly unfounded. Yes, there hasn't been enough studies done and conducted to conclusively say that this is 100% safe. However, with that said, you know, everything that is in electronic cigarettes is individually approved by the FDA. Nicotrol inhalers that are put out by, I believe it's Nicorette, essentially function in the exact same way that an electronic cigarette does, except without the heating element. And that is FDA approved. I'm interested to see the economic fallout if this bill is passed, because frankly, I can tell you just firsthand that this will be an absolute detriment to my shop and my business. Currently, as it stands, I am experiencing exceptional growth in numbers. I like to give you guys more tax money every time that it's time to write that check. And I would like to stay on that projected path. And I just really hope that you'll reconsider your positions on this and at least give enough time for the public comments section with the FDA to close before making any final decisions. Thank you, that's all.
I'll say the same thing. I live here in Tempe. I own Synergy Vapor Labs, the first vape shop in Tempe. I mean, we're all anti-tobacco. We're all for, helping people get off tobacco. It's a miracle product, and not to be feared, but to be embraced. Treating this is a smoking thing. It's the same thing I said last time. I mean, the Smoke Free Act of 2007, 36-101, Section 11, clearly defines smoking in the state of Arizona as the burning or lighting of a tobacco product. And e-cigs aren't burning anything. They're not. There's no combustion. You're not creating, the toxic chemicals that are found from combustion of tobacco in a vapor. So, if we're talking about protecting public health, let's do that. Let's protect public health, but let's do it from a base of knowledge and not from fear-mongering and rhetoric, or a preconceived notion that because it looks like smoking, then it must be smoking. It's just not. I smoked for 25 years and I couldn't quit until I got this product. And my lungs are great, my teeth are great, my dentist is happy, my doctor's happy. It's like, it's got all good and no bad. And I think that because it looks like smoke, it gets a stigma. Don't start the tidal wave of, what ifs. But, I just, well, I'm not going to get on my knees and grovel. Well, no, I'll get on my knees and grovel. I'll get on my knees and grovel. It's not beneath me, so. Look, I mean, you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to go where you're going to go. I just, don't do it. Don't do it. I mean, I can't put it any more simply.
My name is Craig Larson. I'm the owner of Kidney Puncher LLC, which is a vaping business based in Mesa, Arizona. I also own Marsh Consulting and Sales Inc., which is a software development company, and Laboratory Systems Group Inc., which is also a software development company. And and I'm the president of the board of the National Association of Vaping Businesses. So I'm pretty busy. The point that I wanted to make was, as a business owner, not just as a vaping business owner, but as a software development company owner, I prefer my workers, my tech support people, my administrative staff, my developers to be present at their desks and working. One of the things that vaping provides as a benefit in places of employment is it allows my employees to stay productive and not go outside for smoke breaks in the heat. And I think if you were to talk to other business owners, call center owners, any sort of information office workers, one of the big problems they have is that a lot of their people waste time during the day, multiple times during the day, by exiting the building to go to the designated smoking area and then returning to work. And it takes them out of their productive cycle, gets their mind off their work. Some good with that, but also from my point of view, I prefer people to stay at their desk unless they're going to take a break and get their work done. So I think it's a productivity killer, and I think that's a financial impact from the city of Tempe. The other point that I'd like to make is that with the science and the studies that you've been presented with, there is should be at least some question in your mind that the harm reduction that is offered by electronic cigarettes in places of employment outweighs the uncertain presentation that's been given based on what someone else eloquently said was fear and misinformation, and that the stigmatization of electronic cigarette usage with the usage of smoking creates a nullification of that harm reduction effect, because now we're telling those people, if you go in this area, in your head, you're treated the same as those smokers. And I would, in closing, I urge you to not adopt this regulation.
I think generally the arguments that we've heard, these are the same arguments we heard 2 weeks ago. I met with the various groups, I think we all did, are a couple of categories. I wanted to just quickly address each of them. It said encourages youth smoking, It's hard to tell who's smoking and who's not. It's not regulated. It's bad for you, and it's harmful to others at some levels. So I did a quick walk on Mill Avenue, and I want to just address a few of those. So the first one being, it encourages youth smoking. These are all things I bought on Mill Avenue today. And of course, you have to be 18 to buy an e-cigarette. But these, you don't have to be 18 to buy. These are the candy cigarettes. You want to talk about something that encourages youth smoking? That's something that encourages, it's candy that looks like a cigarette. And yet we don't regulate those at all. And you have to be 18 to get an e-cigarette. The other one, it's hard to tell who's smoking and who's not smoking. That would be not beer, that you couldn't possibly tell. And it's not covered by the liquor license board. You don't need a liquor license to sell it. You can buy. Jack in the Box wanted to sell them, you could. If you were in a bar, it would be really hard for a police officer to know who's 21 and who's not, and who's drinking alcohol and who's not. It's not regulated. I made a stop for that one as well. This is biotin. I have no idea what biotin is. I have no idea how much of it I would take in order to kill me. But I know it's not regulated, and I know there's no age for me to buy it. Sure, do you need some biotin? Yeah, I have no idea what it does. It says so on the back. And luckily, it's not FDA approved or food related, so you don't actually need to be corrected. Yeah, well, I don't know. The other one is it's bad for you. So let me introduce you to what represents 4% of all American calories consumed. I'm sorry, number 4 item for all American calories consumed. This is the fourth. This is the number 4 for all calories consumed in America is soft drinks. 9% of Americans have diabetes. It's projected that a third will have diabetes by 2050. These are horrible for you. They serve no useful purpose. And yet, we let people do it. We don't even make you be 18 to do it. If liberty means anything, it means the ability to hurt just yourself. And apparently we've established that. Now, if someday we tax them, sign me up, I'm good. Because I'm all for sin tax, don't get me wrong. If we want to tax e-cigarettes, let's tax e-cigarettes. I'm fine with that. And then the last one being is that it's harmful to others at some levels. And this is one that I think is a legitimate thing. This is why I support the ban on smoking. I'm perfectly allowed to hurt myself. The question is, what do I do that hurts other people? And as everyone will say, I think both sides will say, although you get a few outliers, the research is mixed. What do we know? We know there are bad things in the vapor, in trace levels. What we don't know is at what trace levels are those harmful to people. Let me give you an example of something that I know is harmful to people. Carbon dioxide. I am positive it kills you, right? What I don't know is all the other things, at what levels they might be harmful to you. So the burden that the e-cigarette or vaping people, because they've got publicists now, have decided, you're asking them to prove the negative. You're asking them to prove what you can't prove, and you're asking them to prove what, frankly, they can't yet prove. And that is that things that are harmful for you in trace amounts have dispersion rates and are present in a way that are harmful to you in these amounts. And that's something that nobody, on both sides of the argument, have really said that they can prove yet. And so you're asking them to do what none of these other products do, what Red Bull doesn't have to do, what a whole bunch of other people doesn't have to do. You're asking them to prove that they're not harmful. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to be voting no for this. And let me first say, I think if everyone says, Colby's a friend of cigarettes, I am not. I think they're a horrible, terrible thing. I'm frankly not even necessarily a fan of e-cigarettes, but I'm not a fan of soft drinks either. I'm not a fan of biotin. I'm not a fan of all this other stuff. But if you want to do it, and there's no secondary effects that can be proven to other people, who am I to say? So for those reasons, I'll be voting no.
All right, got my vote. Any other council members wishing to address this item? If not, the chair does look for a motion regarding items 6 and 4. Mr. Woods.
I'll make a quick statement about it, I guess. Here's the thing, in looking about this, whatever, and I've been listening to all the conversations on sort of both sides and hearing. hearing a lot of what I've heard, from the people on the kind of public health side, the people in the vaping industry. And here's the issue, and Councilman Granville kind of touched upon this a little bit, but in looking at a lot of the different studies, what it sort of shows is that many times that what coming out of the e-cigarette is about 20% or so of what would be coming out of a traditional cigarette. So it's a lot less in terms of I don't think that's sort of up for dispute, what's actually, that it might be a fifth of whatever. The issue comes down to, does less pollution mean no pollution? And that's really what the issue is. When I'm sitting next to someone, I've had asthma my entire life, and one of the issues I have is that, so if there's less, nicotine or less nickel or less aluminum coming out of something, it might not be as harmful as a traditional cigarette, but it's still harmful to breathe. I don't see how breathing any level of nickel or aluminum or nicotine is good for your health or whatever, or is it not detrimental even at a lesser level. I know on a personal level, whatever, if I was sitting next to someone in a cubicle or anything else at my job, they were constantly smoking whatever, it was releasing 20% of those chemicals in the air, I would have a really hard time with that, frankly, because of just some of the pre-existing health conditions that I have, and I know many other people in this country and throughout the world actually share. So my big concern, whatever, and Councilman Granville makes a great point about some of the things that we regulate and don't regulate, and I clearly know that going into a GNC store or a high health, you'll read many of the products that you talked about that will say, this product, this statement, whatever on this bottle, whatever, has not been regulated or evaluated by the FDA. And I've always wondered about that too, is that how a lot of those companies or how those businesses are actually able to sell those products when they haven't get them evaluated. But the issue in some sense, and you talked about this, is if someone chooses to sort of drink a can of soda or do something, whatever, from a personal standpoint that's harmful to them, I understand that, whatever, I might not want them to do it, but I'm not necessarily going to totally regulate that because they have a right to do it because it's not hurting anyone else. Me, frankly, here I'm drinking a Mountain Dew, whatever, because why I need some caffeine. That's not affecting Shanna or Mark or Robin or Joel or Colby. But if I'm releasing 20% of these chemicals in the air and I'm sitting next to Brigida or Shanna, it might be affecting them negatively. So my drinking the can of Coke, whatever, a can of Mountain Dew, might not be good for me, and maybe I shouldn't do it, and I should probably drink something else or just get more sleep at night, frankly. But it's only affecting me. But if I'm doing something else, whatever, that does show, even at a lesser level, does release toxins into the air, it will affect the people surrounding me, even if it's at 1/5 of the level or at trace levels. And so that's my concern, and that's why I will be voting yes.
Councilmember Navarro.
Thank you, Mayor. No, I think, just listening to everybody speak about e-cigarettes and just regular cigarettes, yeah, I strongly agree. There's quite a different change in terms of the atmosphere. We're not polluting as much. But the fact is, it's still what it is in some regards. I think Corey touched on it. Still don't know the truth of that. I know there's some studies out there, and there's some debates still going on, and there's some great materials and great scientists that are stating the opposite, possibly, or stating, no, that's not the reasons. The bottom line is we still don't know exactly 100% what we're dealing with, in my opinion. We still have these debates going on. We still have a lot of this information still kind of out there, and it's opinion right now as I look at it. When I think about this ordinance, I'm not trying to close vaping or shops or anybody's ability to vape whenever they want to vape. I'm just saying in public spaces or confined spaces that vaping probably is not the place to be at. So if I'm in a restaurant or a small restaurant and someone's vaping next to me, is that considerable consideration? Are you having consideration towards the people next to you in terms of vape? It's still the smell of it. There's still a stench. My best friend, he's quit tobacco products for the longest time. Then vaping came, and he was like, "Wow, this is great. I can still have nicotine." And yeah, he smokes inside the house. Doesn't have the effects of all that smell on his clothes. Doesn't have the effect of smell in his house. Vaping is great for him. He chooses to do that. That's great. It's great for other people too, for the same categories. I think that what we're trying to do here is we're just putting smoke or vaping in the same realm, so restaurant owners or business owners don't have to sit there and guess what is actually being vaped or what new vaping material is going to be out there in the future that might not be legal. I don't know that answer to that question either. The thing is too, is when you get into clubs or down here on Mill, and if a whole bunch of people's vaping inside of a bar, who's not going to be smoking in the bar? Why would I not? Hey, everyone's vaping, no one's going to tell if I'm smoking or not. So you're going to pop up with those too. I don't know. I mean, those are questions that I don't know. Why are we putting that out there though? I know this is not the favorable atmosphere that I'm proposing this, voting my yes on this vote, but until I have more proof, I think that treating it as cigarettes, if something comes up and says it's a highly benefit, there's nothing out there, what's to say we can't reverse it and just say, yep, vaping in restaurants and public spaces is great. Until I have something solid, I have to vote yes.
Councilmember Redondo Savage.
Thank you, Mayor. First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to everybody that's here tonight. Whatever side you're on, you guys are very passionate about what you believe in. I definitely do appreciate that, and I really do appreciate your respectfulness. So thank you so much for that. I know somebody mentioned it being a knee-jerk reaction. Well, this is something that we've been studying for a while. It's not something that just came up last week. We've been out trying to talk to the community, talk to some of our other business members, owners, and see what their thoughts and opinions are. And I do appreciate the things that have been said here tonight. I do think that whatever is in those e-cigarettes and comes out is much different than what your traditional tobacco cigarette is, and I can certainly appreciate that and appreciate the fact of those people that are using that as a tool to be able to quit smoking. I think that is great and that is healthy. So I certainly do appreciate that too. But at the same time, without knowing exactly what are in those chemicals when they come out, even if it's a small percent, from 5% to 10%, I still feel like that's a health concern. And I feel like my responsibility here is to do what's best for the city of Tempe. And as much as I appreciate both sides, I've done my due diligence in regards to trying to talk to everybody in our community, meeting with our individuals. And because of that, and because I want to be proactive and make sure that we're making good choices moving forward, if something has come up down the road that says, this is not the right way to go, it's something that we can always look at. We've been a very flexible council. But moving forward, I will be supporting this ordinance.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Ellis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I too want to thank everyone that's come here tonight. We received a lot of emails, we received a lot of data, had a lot of meetings with people on both sides of the issue, and have been studying this literally for weeks and weeks. So thank you all for the public participation process. I will be voting in favor of this, and I thought I would go on the record just to say why, for many of the reasons that were mentioned here. But we also have the support of our downtown bars. DTC has asked that we pass this. I know that it's hard to enforce. It's hard to tell if people are smoking a real cigarette or an e-cigarette. And from what I'm told, it could take the FDA years in order to make this determination in gathering data. But I'm all for, if it should come back that this is harmless, then removing it from the ordinance. And as Councilmember Redondo Savage has pointed out, this council is very flexible. I mean, even residents will be getting information on even the bulk trash schedule that we will be changing based on input. So we are willing to take a look at things again, and so please keep that in mind, and we will continue to watch the data that is presented to us. So thank you all.
Thank you. I have a couple comments. And again, I know you heard it from this council, but we really do appreciate you guys coming out and speaking to us, sending emails, and calling us. It's an important part of our process and how we do it, and we do appreciate that. I also like to know that for all the business owners out there, we're very supportive of our business, regardless of what business you're in, whether it's e-vaping or commercial store or retail clothing store or a mom and pop business. We're very supportive of all the businesses in our community. And I have to tell you, I was on the city council when we enacted the cigarette ordinance. And we heard the same arguments then about it's going to be a detriment to our economy and so forth. And it was very interesting. Look where we are now. It's a statewide ban. It's almost statewide, across the whole country. We're not prohibiting people from smoking or e-vaping. They can still do that. They can still purchase the products. They can do it outside of businesses. To Councilmember Ellis's point, we are a very flexible city. when the smoking ban went into place, the biggest thing we heard from was the bars and restaurants, and what could we do? And what did we do? We listened to the owners and the small business owners, and we extended the patios. We had permit processes to help move that forward. And today, look at Mill Avenue, all the different patios. I'm not saying that, you can't have the option to use a e-vape, cigarette, vaporize it, but you still can do it. There's certain places to do so. So we encourage you to do so. We also have been in letters of support in Tempe Tourism, Office of Convention and Visitors Bureau, the downtown Tempe community, as well as other businesses. I forget at a restaurant today, and I asked the owner basically how they felt about it. They said we don't like it because it does infringe on most of our clientele because of the e-vape. What does get released out there. You heard some studies. There's all different kinds of studies out there. So you heard one of the studies that Councilman Woods mentioned about at least 20% of what is vaporized out there is still part of the nicotine, still bad for the environment. So there's a lot of studies out there, but let you know, we're very business oriented, we're friendly, and we are flexible. So with that, I will be supporting this ordinance. And thank you very, very much for your input, as well as your time coming down here and speaking to us, and all the time in the emails that you did send us. I do thank you for that. Chair, I do look for a motion regarding item 6C4. It's been moved by Councilmember Hernandez Savage. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Navarro. Please vote. That motion carries 5-1, with Councilmember Randall voting no and Vice Mayor Pershing absent. The next item on our agenda is our